All right, welcome back to Unleash, the most legit Celtics podcast in the game. We got episode number 63 today, and we're talking about The Last Dance, the Jordan documentary. A question that I saw on Twitter regarding Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown in terms of how many championships they're going to win. And then we're going to close out just talking about whether or not basketball is going to get back, if that's even possible, or is it over, sadly. We'll get to that, but I wanted to start talking about the feedback that we got in the last 4 episodes. So we did the Boston Celtics player grading series, and I didn't know how that was going to go. I never had really done a series like that before on the podcast where, I just give my grade for the Celtics player, and it kind of came at a good time during this quarantine in a time where there wasn't, anything live to talk about. So it kind of let us, relive what's gone on this season and grade the players based on their performance versus expectations. And you guys definitely soaked that up, and I had some great feedback, whether it was, agreeing with me or disagreeing with me. I love doing things that cause a reaction, and, you guys definitely passed the test. Plenty of feedback, and I think it's because that was a series that was very black or white. There wasn't any gray area. No, at the end of talking about the player or somewhere in the middle of talking about the player, I drop my grade. I say, hey, Daniel Tice was an A for this season. Boom. Right there. A. And then you guys can either disagree or agree with that. So I wanted to call that out before we got into this episode and just kind of say thank you because it was the first little pilot that we had done with YouTube as well, which is something that we're going to try to do more consistently. This episode is also on YouTube. And I don't know. Yeah, it just performed really well compared to our other episodes. So I wanted to say thank you. So let's get into The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan, the Bulls documentary that dropped Sunday night. You would have thought this was the Super Bowl regarding the hype and all the talk that was going around about it prior to how excited people were getting. And I'm right there with you. But, I'm in group chats with buddies and seeing on social media, people are literally looking forward to this as if it is the Super Bowl. And now, barring this is an amazing story, and it's still ongoing, obviously, the story is being told, the unseen footage. But I think this could have been anything sports-related. This could have been any documentary that was actually about something, at least that moved the needle a little bit, and all of a sudden the needle would have been moved a bit. Because we just haven't had sports in so long that you drop something like this, it's pretty much the equivalent of a Super Bowl, just based on what people are looking forward to. And I don't know the actual numbers. I don't know how it performed, but I would imagine that it performed miraculously in terms of ratings. But it was good. It lives up to the hype. Like, you looked forward to it. That left some room for, I don't know if this is going to be what I think it's going to be. And guess what? It pretty much was. The funniest thing about it, and I don't use the word funny correctly there, the coolest thing about it, and I was talking to a buddy about this, was that this is all stuff that we pretty much know the overarching answers to. We know the timeline. We know how it went down. Yet this was so well done and so well executed that you still have that sort of, I want more, like, what's going to happen? For example, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but it shouldn't be a spoiler because this is all stuff that happened. It leaves you thinking like, oh, are the Bulls going to re-sign Scottie Pippen, or is he going to go to another team? And it's like, dog, I know the answer. Why am I wondering that? Which kind of is the tell of a good movie or a good documentary in this case. Think of your favorite movie. The reason you like it so much is because whether it's at the intense parts, you feel intense, or the sad parts, you feel sad again, happy parts, you feel happy, so on and so forth. Those are the type of movies that can stick around and you can rewatch and you know what happens, but they still keep you intrigued and interested and excited, which is exactly what this is. This is an entire documentary of, yes, unseen footage, untold stories, but some of these storylines, we know how they ended. We know Scottie Pippen doesn't go back to the Bulls, but it keeps you wanting the next episode, wanting to see how it plays out, and whether it's because of how, like, the nuts and bolts involved into that decision, yeah, we don't know that, but that overarching sort of, oh, what's going to happen? And you kind of have to step back and be like, oh, I know what happened. This happened years ago. So shout out to the team for that put that together and everything, because it really was executed well, and it came at a perfect time. Like I said, that could have been any sports-related documentary, in my opinion, but the fact that it was this sort of untold side of everything that went on between Michael Jordan, the Bulls, Scottie Pippen, the Bulls, and that year is pretty much hitting the nail on the head in terms of what the people want to see. It's that unreleased stuff. You're only going to see it here, and it's dropping in a time where everyone is home, watching no other sports, doing nothing, and just looking forward and salivating over a documentary like that. So I enjoyed it. I can't wait for next Sunday. I can't wait for the next episodes. It's incredible. Based on episode 1, I hope it only goes up from here. That's going to be tough to do because, my expectations are sky high now after how interesting those first 2 episodes were. Let's move on now to some Celtics basketball talk, which, again, ain't the easiest thing to do in the world that we're living in now without Celtics basketball. But we're going to do it. I saw this question out on Twitter, and it was a poll asking, where do you set the sort of the line at championships between Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum as a duo? And then the poll, I believe, was if they get anything less than 2 championships, is it a disappointment, I guess? And the poll was like 80% no, it's not a disappointment. And my vote was yes. Based on how hyped I am for Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and what they're going to be together, I want championships on championships on championships on championships. We can't forget how young these guys are. They have plenty of time to grow. They're already both studs. Jayson Tatum being a superstar 100%. Jaylen Brown right on that fringe star level. 2 championships, honestly, and this isn't me hating or setting false expectations. The Celtics duo of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown should 1,000,000% be able to achieve 2 championships in their time together. Now, this is all assuming that they stay Celtics long term and become the sort of true Celtics that we end up hanging in the rafters one day. Their jersey numbers, that is. That's all assuming this, and that's kind of what I'm going off of. If Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum end up playing for another team, obviously this goes out the window. But in terms of Celtics jerseys, as a duo, they should be here for another 10 years. Say 8 years if you want to be fair. 8 years, 2 championships in my mind, as good as they are, that should be doable. Now, I'm not saying go win 7 out of the 8 championships that you have the possibility to win in those 8 years. No. Let's not get carried away. I'm not overhyping them, but I'm certainly not going to underhype them. The fact that 80% of the NBA world / Celtics Nation could be like, oh, no, it's not a disappointment. That's the same thing saying Jay Crowder's the best starter in the league based on money. No, that is just your green team bias coming out, and I'm guilty of it on so many fronts. But this one, don't cut Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown a break if they don't win 2 championships. I'm saying it right now. They need to win 2 championships, or it's kind of a flop. These guys are good enough to do it. This is me praising them, not setting false expectations or expectations that aren't reachable or unrealistic. No, they should be able to win 2 ships, and I think they will, especially in this short-term time period when Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward are still going to be able to contribute. They're not. They still got a couple more years of good basketball left in them. I feel like people think Gordon Hayward's over the hill or Kemba Walker's old. They still should have 2-3 more years of good basketball. By that time, you're looking at a 26 Jaylen Brown and a 24, 25-year-old Jayson Tatum. Yeah, that team should be unreal. So I don't want people to let Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown as a duo kind of skate by because we should be looking at multiple championships. Nothing like whatever Jaylen Brown said. Jaylen Brown wants 3 championships by the time he's 20, whatever that unreal number that he said to that reporter was. That was him tooting his horn a little bit too hard, but this is realistic. 2 championships in the next 8 years, and I'm only going off of how good they are, specifically how good Tatum is. Tatum is, before this season ended or paused, which we'll talk about in a little bit, Jayson Tatum was looking like a number 1 guy on a championship team. He was not being outplayed. He averaged 1,000,000 points in February, and then people are starting to crap on him, saying that he fell off in March when he averaged 26 points. You are able to be a number 1 on a championship team when people start to shit on you because you're averaging only 26 points over a month. So yeah, there it is. There's my answer to the poll, and I thought it was a good poll. But 80%, maybe it was 76% people saying no, it's not a disappointment. Come on, what are we shooting for here? We're not talking about this year, but 5 years from now, I want at least 1 and then maybe another one soon. Give me 2 championships at least out of this duo. And I feel like you're taking a step back and people that are voting no are not remembering that you still have Kemba, Marcus Smart, Gordon Hayward. You still have a team around them too. So while Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are skyrocketing towards stardom, they have a supporting cast, a couple of which are already stars, one of which is the best defender in the league. I don't know how you can settle in this case. These 2 guys are the opposite of settling. The leaps that they've taken, especially Jayson Tatum again, you shouldn't settle for a damn second for the rest of their career. So that's my take on it. 2 championships or more. I would love 3 championships between the two of them, but that would be like, that's getting up there. That's, if I'm saying that's the minimum, then I'm almost thinking those are unrealistic expectations, which I don't want to bestow upon these kids. Because they both listen, of course. But the thing is, 2 seems super doable in my mind. And we got to get back to the question, too. Is it a disappointment if they don't? I'd be pretty disappointed. If they just win 1 championship, you think back to those '08 Celtics. You are disappointed in a sense for not winning 1 or 2 more. You know what I mean? Especially the one where the injuries hit late in the playoffs. Yeah, like that one you're disappointed about. That team was good enough to win a couple more, and they only walked away with 1. Yeah, the 1's great, and it's been the only one in a long time. But you're lying to yourself if you say you're not disappointed that it's only 1. So that's kind of where I land with the Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown duo. And this is just me because I believe that they are good enough to be 1 and 2 on a championship caliber team. I don't know if people are going to agree with that or if that's the reason why only 20% of Celtics Nation truly believe that they're going to win more than 2 or 2 at least. But yeah, you got to believe in the players first, and I definitely believe in those 2 guys. So to me, it's super doable. All right, let's close off the show here talking about basketball. Is it going to come back? Last I had heard, it's supposed to come back in May. Well, I don't see anything firm proving that it's coming back in May. I don't know what they're going to do. This is getting pretty out of hand. I mean, look at states like, I believe it was New York shutting down through May 2 or May 14th, whatever. These dates are getting extended, whereas they would have to be lifted. I know some states are apparently reopening, but I don't know. I just don't see any progress coming out of these leagues. If there's anything, we're just not hearing about it, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes silence is good because, the minute the NBA speaks, it could be to announce that the season's over. I don't like that we're in the dark. That's my only concern here. I don't like that we're in the dark. Is basketball going to get back to playing? If I had to take a guess, I would say no. No. Why would it? We would hear some sort of positive news of progress being made, like, hey, here's the goal, this is the date we're setting out for, or we're hoping that to be back by now. Like, we haven't heard that. We haven't heard anything. We haven't heard shit. So who's to assume basketball is just going to come back? And based on the efforts that the NBA went through to do the 2K tournament and the horse tournament, playing old games and scheduling old games out for weeks in advance, it tells me that they're preparing for this void more than just that current state of, all right, how are we handling today? Which sucks. What the hell are we going to do without basketball? The playoffs were supposed to start, on Saturday, a couple days ago? Jayson Tatum was supposed to be hitting game winners in the first round of the playoffs. Celtics were supposed to be sweeping the Sixers. It's a bummer. It truly is a bummer, but, at least we had the Last Dance documentary to watch. It kind of gave us that basketball fix. Saw a little Larry Bird in there. Saw Danny Ainge talking. But as far as this season goes, I don't know. And it cost the Celtics big time. Not only for, how far they get in the playoffs. Screw that for a second. But think about the leaps that were being taken. Marcus Smart, his best offensive game of the year. Gordon Hayward, arguably getting back to that 20-plus point per game score. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, holy hell were they taking leaps. And then poof, the NBA's gone. Kemba Walker meshing with the team, poof, the NBA's gone. It's crazy. So we shall see how it turns out. Thank you guys very much for tuning into this episode. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel as we are posting these podcasts. And we're going to get other content going up on Guy Boston Sports on the YouTube channel. So make sure you are subscribed. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else that you listen to your podcast, please follow us along. Leave us a rating, review, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your ex. Do anything you can to help the podcast. The Unleashed Army is growing by the day. Thank you guys very much.